UK economy on the brink. How the Iran war could trigger a recession. What if a war thousands of miles away could cost hundreds of thousands of jobs in the United Kingdom? That's not speculation. It's a growing economic warning. Recent analysis suggests that up to 250,000 people in the UK could lose their jobs by 2027, as the country edges dangerously close to a recession. But how did a conflict involving the United States, Israel, and Iran push one of the world's biggest economies toward crisis? Let's break it down. What's happening? The global economy is being shaken by the escalating conflict involving the US, Israel, and Iran. One major trigger: Iran's disruption of oil supply routes, especially around the Strait of Hormuz, a critical artery for global energy. This has caused surging oil and gas prices, rising inflation worldwide, increased economic uncertainty. And the UK is especially vulnerable. Why? Because it heavily depends on imported energy, meaning global price shocks hit British households and businesses almost immediately. Why the UK is at risk? Economic forecasts paint a worrying picture. UK growth expected to slow to around 0.7 to 0.8% in 2026. Inflation rising toward 4%. Unemployment projected to climb to 5.8%. That combination, low growth plus high inflation, is a dangerous mix. Economists call this stagflation. Even worse, business leaders are reacting by cutting investment, freezing hiring, focusing on survival rather than growth. That's often the first step toward a recession. The energy shock effect. Here's the core issue. World oil prices surge. Energy costs rise. Businesses face higher expenses. Consumers spend less. Economic growth slows. It's a chain reaction. And the UK feels it more than many countries because energy bills are already high. Inflation has been persistent. Consumer confidence is falling sharply. In fact, UK consumer morale has dropped to its lowest level in nearly 3 years. That signals fear, and fear slows economies. Job losses and real-life impact. The most alarming prediction. Up to 250,000 jobs could be lost by mid-2027. That could push unemployment above 2 million people for the first time in over a decade. Industries likely to be hit hardest include manufacturing, due to energy costs; retail, due to reduced spending; construction, due to high interest rates. For everyday people, this means higher living costs, fewer job opportunities, greater financial insecurity. Global ripple effect. This isn't just a UK problem. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, warns that the Iran war could trigger a global recession if tensions escalate further. And among major economies, the UK is expected to be one of the hardest hit. Why? Because it entered 2026 already with weak growth momentum, high inflation, pressure on public finances. The war simply made a fragile situation worse. Will the UK enter a recession? Right now, experts say the UK may flirt with recession, meaning the economy could stagnate, growth may flatline, a downturn is very possible. But whether it becomes a full recession depends on one key factor: how long the war lasts. If the conflict continues, energy prices stay high, inflation remains elevated, growth weakens further. If tensions ease, recovery could still be possible. So here's the big takeaway. A war in the Middle East is no longer just a geopolitical issue. It's now an economic threat affecting millions of people worldwide. For the UK, the stakes are high: slowing growth, rising unemployment, and a real risk of recession. The question is no longer if the economy will feel the impact, but how severe it will be. Call to action. If you found this breakdown helpful, like, share, and subscribe to Discovery Learning Hub. And let me know in the comments, do you think the UK can avoid a recession?